Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Join Terry with Tracer Rounds every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern to hear interviews with veteran artists, veteran business owners, and businesses that support veterans. Catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and MB Radio. If you miss a show, you can listen again on Wreaths Across America Radio every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune in to see if you are on target. MBR, giving veterans a voice.
Welcome back to the Tracer Rounds podcast, and we're on Military Broadcast Radio, where we're giving veterans a voice, and we have some veterans on the program tonight. We have John Peskuski, and we have Justin O'Brien, and we have Lisa Tran, and they're all from Holistiq Spine and Orthopaedic, and they've come to talk to us a little bit about how we can connect into their services for things like PTSD, TBIs, and things like that. So welcome to the program, and we'll get into all that, but welcome to the program. We're excited to have you tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Terry.
Yes, we're excited to learn more about this, but I thought, Justin, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about your military service and just maybe some highlights of your career?
Yeah. So I, like most people, got into the military not knowing what they wanted to do. So I showed up one day not doing anything and got into the Army. Originally, I wanted to do something different, like engineer or something. But I found out I was colorblind at that time. Oh, I'd never noticed it, but I have like a not the red-blue color blindness, but I have a different type of color blindness. So the only job that was open for me was medic. So I chose that. And yeah, I did 8 years active for that. I was in a couple of deployments first to Iraq during 2007, 2008. And then I was in Afghanistan from 2011 to 2012. After that, I was winding down the 8 years, and I was, that's about halfway. And I was like, well, do I stay in? Do I get out? Luckily for me, I found out that Texas had a couple of programs at the time. One of them was the Hazelwood Act. Yes. I was like, oh, I could go pay for my medical school with this. They also had something else called that almost no one knows about. It's the Fresh Start program. So if your college credits are more than 10 years old, you can erase them at any state institution. And it's just like one form that you have to like a checkbox. Because the first time when I went to school, I was terrible. I never went to class. I goofed off. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I needed to erase those grades. So both of those things allowed me to, then go back to school, have a little bit more drive and purpose, and then also be able to actually get into medical school, because with the old grades, I was never going to get in.
Oh, wow. Well, that's awesome. I didn't know about that either. So I guess that is a good way to kind of wipe the slate clean and start over, because some of us, when we go into, extra educational opportunities, we don't always take full advantage of them. We it'll be fine. It doesn't really matter. I'll just do what I want. And then you find out pretty quickly that you can't do that, that you have to be serious about it, or things happen or don't happen for you.
Yeah, of course. I don't think that, it's not advertised that well, but I don't think everybody, including myself, was that mature at 18 when I went off to college the first time.
Right. Yeah. It takes some time away for us to really kind of find ourselves and find out who we are and where we want to go in life. And so sometimes it takes us a little longer than we anticipate, and we pay the consequences for it too sometimes. Mm-hmm. So John, tell us about your service, if you don't mind.
Sure. Absolutely. I joined in 1998, enlisted as a crash, fire, and rescue 7051 Marine, and cut my teeth in firefighting. And I continued down that path for the next 15, 20 years, went through paramedic school, used my GI Bill to do that. And then after I was in the fire department for some time, I figured I wanted to get in municipality business, and I went and got used my GI Bill to get a degree in municipal association stuff, and somehow I found my way into the medical after I retired from the fire department, and I worked with total primary care, built some clinics, and now I'm with the Holistiq group, and so I just started a couple of weeks ago, and it's been great to be with the company so far. I've gotten to spend some time with Dr. O'Brien, and we immediately clicked and saw the benefits for psychiatric stuff in the veteran space. Obviously, we have the VA, and we had those conversations and such, but how important it was to make those connections. So I knew that we had a fit immediately. But that's my background with the military. I switched over to the warrant officer ranks in 2012, had several deployments and activations, 6 in total between 1998 and 2022 when I retired. So, good times, rough times, but it was all a huge benefit, and to be able to have the conversations with other vets and pay it forward, I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you guys are doing, because you're trying to help veterans still yet after your service, after you take off the uniform, you're still working to help veterans. And Lisa, I don't want to forget about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm currently the marketing director of Holistiq, which is our organization that we'll talk about in a little bit. But my background is in speech language pathology. So I have definitely worked with other veterans, whether it's related to their voice, swallowing, or dysphagia needs, or even just some cognitive areas, including brain fog, mental fatigue, mild cognitive impairment. That is kind of my heart goes all to adults with neurogenic disorders as well. So, yeah.
Sounds like it's a really great team to really kind of put the team together to help holistically, as well as it's tied into the name, veterans, and the way it's best to, I guess, treat a patient, because you really want to go for everything involved with the patient. You don't want to just fix one thing, because it doesn't really fix the problem. It's a mindset. It's some other things that go along with it. So that should tie right into what the mission and services is. Do you want to talk about what you do and how you do it, and then kind of talk about maybe how we can engage, how veterans can engage in some of those services?
Yeah. John, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's so many different pathways for veterans or people that aren't veterans to seek mental health services, right? Yeah. And for veterans, a lot of the times we're engaged by the VA itself, and veterans can choose to go in a pipeline with the VA. I've gone down that pipeline for, mental health services. And sometimes it can go well. And sometimes, if you've ever been booted to community care and you may get so many appointments and all of a sudden those get turned off and you don't know who to turn around and talk to, you can find yourself, especially if you're in a not a good spot, right? I mean, stress induces that kind of thing, and Dr. O'Brien can speak to that in a second. But if you find yourself where you don't have the resources that you need, we would want to be one of those resources because we are absolutely veteran friendly. We understand, and we've got several different pathways to come up with whatever is a winning model for a potential patient. But for the veteran community, we just want to make sure that they know that they've got a support asset there with Holistiq. Just like you said, Holistiq, there's a reason for the name. We take a look at the whole picture. Dr. Ha is very big at making sure that we address the things that need to be addressed underlying so we can solve a lot of those things, whether that's with musculoskeletal or with the psychiatric. Personal story of mine, just before I let Dr. O'Brien get started. The military wrecked my hips. I need a double hip replacement at 45. That Dr. Ha I was a patient of his at one point, and it can really mess with the headspace when you're not doing the things that you would regularly be doing. I went from being very active to almost a complete hard stop, and that was really hard to digest in the brain housing group. So, that's where I found myself in the VA process, and then the complications that came with that. So dialing it back into how we can be a resource for veterans when those things happen. We're a friendly space, and we definitely want to be recognized and considered whenever those things come up.
Absolutely.
Dr. O'Brien,
do you
tell us more about how whenever you see the vets and when they come into the space, what that looks like.
For sure. I think that, all of what John said is totally true, right? The VA is very good, but sometimes, it's busy. It's hard to get appointments in certain locations. And also, it's just maybe, you have exhausted all the, options at the VA. I think that's where maybe Holistiq comes in. A lot of times people that are coming in with pain, people that are coming in with especially chronic pain that's been going on for years or degenerative pain, they're looking for not just somebody who's going to throw medications at them, but, listen to them, number one. And then two, also really consider all the different things that could be going on. I know that's why Dr. Ha hired me onto the group, which was, I apologize, I'm having to move because of my cat. But I know that's why Dr. Ha brought me onto the group, is because he wanted to make sure that at a central level that we both took care of your mind and your body.
Yeah.
And I think it is something that oftentimes, again, when you go to the VA, not every VA, but when you go to the VA or you go to any clinic even, you're usually just getting one thing taken care of at a time. You're going to get just the pain element, or you're just going to get the mental health element. And it's going to be something where those providers don't talk between each other. Those providers don't think about okay, well, how can we get you over here quicker? How can we get you integrated into the next steps? So I think that's one of the things that we want to do at Holistiq, is just make sure that we have this wraparound care where pain and mental health come together under one house. If that makes sense.
It definitely does. So if someone's coming in for a mental health issue and then you find that there's these other chronic issues, then what does the process look like for moving them through different treatments? And what are the treatments that you do offer at Holistiq? What types of treatments are available to somebody that would come in? So a first responder or just anybody off the street, really. I mean, it doesn't even have to be somebody in the military. It can be, a veteran, a first responder, police, fire. It could be EMS, could be dispatch, could be anybody that's dealing in that space, or just an average person dealing with those things. What does that look like?
So I think the first step, especially if they're going to come see me first, is we're going to sit down for, a long visit, and we're going to really hear what has been going on. And I'm going to ask them, tell me really, why are you here? Which I think is like a difficult question, because not oftentimes that is what's asked. It's more just like, tell me where it hurts, or, tell me, point to your, what's hurting you. But I really want to hear like, what's brought you in today. From there, we're going to get like a good history, of course, just like any like medical interview. And then we're going to go and talk about options. We're very lucky at Holistiq. So most psychiatric facilities, clinics or inpatient, they have medications available, and they have maybe even like talk therapy available. But we're lucky, we also have something called TMS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, available. So that's a third avenue that, there's not a lot of good evidence that we should just continue trying multiple medications one after another. At a certain point, it's likely that, it's possible that they're not going to work, and maybe we should try something different. And we have that different element there. After that, it is, I see a question up on the screen. Do they assist to heal both metaphysical and physical traumas? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by metaphysical, but if you're talking about traumas that are deep, traumas that have been around for a very long time, then yes, I think that we have options available for patients who come in to discuss those things. And ultimately, I want to get you back to your function.
Yeah, also physical traumas, if they were relating to physical pain, then yes, that is the same, but PMS, which is the peripheral magnetic stimulation, just in case that was part of the question.
Yes.
It could be. So how do you have to get a referral from the VA, or does the VA, are they able, people that see the VA for their primary care, are they able to access resources without some kind of referral, or how does that typically work?
I think it's more dependent on the insurance, Terry. I know the common insurances that are accepted to the VA are going to be your TRICARE and TriWest, both of which we are in network with.
Okay.
So, I mean, as long as we have our website, it's called Go Holistiq, holistiq.com. We invite anyone who is interested to go ahead and submit an inquiry, and we will get in contact with them. Our promise is to contact our patients within 24 to 48 hours, and we can guide those patients from there. We'll take down their insurance information, we'll get that started, and then if it's needed, we'll go ahead and contact the VA as well so that they can submit their authorization.
And we also have some pretty cool cash pay packages that if somebody doesn't have insurance or they have a high deductible plan, that they can take part in. So, and those are developed strictly for the consumer, and also employers that are, looking to add an extra benefit to their benefits package.
So what does the TMS therapy do? What does that look like? What type of process is that? And how lengthy a process is that if someone were to take that therapy?
For sure. Let me answer MJ Gonzalez.
She's one of our hosts on the platform.
Good. She had actually two comments now. Brought up the stacked traumas. It sounds like what you're talking about is there's a term for it. What is it? Now I'm losing my train of thought. But CPTSD is the name, like complex PTSD. So it's this you've been traumatized multiple times over multiple years, which is something that can happen in both, regular folk off the street, like Terry was talking about, firefighters, first responders having to show up to some of these unsettling scenes that they're required to go to, people in the military. It can happen to anybody, but I think that is what you're talking about, is this idea of complex PTSD. The idea there then is going to Terry's question about how does TMS work. So I don't want to give too complex of an answer, but so the research is still underway, but for the most part, most of the studies point to
So for what specific type of conditions does that work best? Are there some conditions where that therapy is more appropriate than another one? And what's the outcomes of getting that type of therapy?
Oh, for sure. So the FDA has approved this treatment for 3 conditions: major depressive disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and nicotine dependence with specific machines. Which nicotine dependence is something that also is pretty hard to treat, and we do not have that machine, but there are machines out there, specific machines that are FDA approved to treat that. There's also a lot of evidence out there that sometimes you have to go off-label in psychiatry. Not everything is approved for every condition, and we don't want to go too off the mark, but we don't expect TMS to work for things like schizophrenia or psychosis, nothing like that. But there's a lot of evidence that works for things like PTSD. It helps with anxiety and stress. And so that might be something that we would be doing off-label with somebody coming in to treat those conditions.
And so what type of success stories have you had using that type of equipment or that type of therapies for those things?
Good success. I don't want to get into too many patient details. I don't want to share too much. This is a pretty broad audience. I don't want to break anybody's confidence. But there have been several people so far that this is a new program for us, but there's been several people so far coming in with very bad PTSD, very bad mood disorders, who very quickly turn around, even after trying alternate therapies for up to one patient had it almost up to a year. They tried multiple alternate therapies, multiple medications, talk therapy. And, I think they did 30 sessions of TMS, which a session of TMS is once per day. They did about 30 sessions, and, at around session 15 to 20, he started, we check in, and he was showing up to follow-up visits smiling. He was out doing stuff. He had his function back. He had his life back. Yeah. And I think it's is it going to work on everything? No, but it's a very valuable tool, when combined with every tool. And it's going to come down to patient preference, what they're available to do, but it's a very powerful tool. And I think that TMS should be used everywhere.
And so in the Metroplex, you guys have 6 locations that somebody could go and get treatment at. So are these treatments available at all 6 locations, or is it only at specific ones? Because I know you have a location in Irving, Plano, Arlington, Fort Worth, Lake Highlands, and Allen. Is it available through all those locations?
It's a great question, Terry. It's available at 4 of our locations currently. So Fort Worth being one of them, Irving, our Dallas office, and Lake Highlands, and also in our Allen office.
Awesome. So I know you have other treatments too. And so I want to talk about those too, but I also want to talk about once you get the TMS treatment going, you still need the other parts of the treatment plan, which include like diet. Isn't diet important? And then the mental health aspect, because you need to still work on the underlying underlying issue that was going on in the first place, to kind of treat that whole person. So what does that whole treatment plan look like? You're getting the TMS, and then you're talking with you, Dr. O'Brien, for the mental health aspect. And then is there a nutrition coach too that can help with maybe ensuring that someone is getting proper nutrition? Because some of us don't eat well, because I call myself a junk food vegetarian. So I don't eat meat, but I don't know that I eat the best either. So is there someone that can help with that to make a holistic approach to wellness? So from the mental health aspect, from the PTSD, depressive, anxiety type situation, and then someone to really guide you in eating correctly, because that goes into your overall health as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to take this one.
Okay.
If y'all don't mind. So, Terry, we have, from the patient's preventative side, is the most important part. If somebody's not, feeling badly, then nutrition and exercise are some of the best things that they can do to stay feeling well and stay tip top of their game. And we offer from a preventative side, and we're retooling a program that's kind of cool, where it's going to have health coaches available and nutritionists available for patients on an insurance basis, which hasn't been available before, but also traditionally, as those cash pay options are also there. We have nutritionists and health coaches that are going to be available as well. Now, if someone's say they've hurt themselves, and obviously we have chiropractic that's on staff, and we have that at all the locations that's going to be available. And if someone needs medical service, as in injections or something like that, we can offer those things as well. But we like to take care of things on the preventative side, and through nutrition and exercise, when and where, we can get away with it. But if someone does hurt themselves and finds themselves in a pathway of needing some sort of treatment, then we have a lot of different options as well. The holistic side, going through the chiropractic. And then, of course, like we were talking about before, whenever you find yourself in Dr. O'Brien's office because you're in a funk and you're not feeling good, he can take care of those things also. So everything from preventative to interventional to maintenance, we offer.
And so we haven't talked about it yet, but there's a shockwave therapy. Does someone want to explain what that is and how it works?
Yeah. So, and I guess this may also help with answering MJ's questions about Holistiq and kind of who we are. So we do focus a lot of our treatments on the non-invasive side. So Terry, I know you also asked about the nutrition component as well, but John kind of brought up the chiropractic side. So ultimately, our goal is to be as holistic as we can, just because we don't want to recommend anything that is aggressive, or we don't really push any surgeries unless it's truly warranted. So with that being said, we focus a lot on the non-invasive side. So if someone's in pain, we want to listen to what their needs are, what they want. And so it could start with chiropractic care. So like John mentioned, we have a chiropractor on our team who's happy to help with anything from a spinal alignment, so getting an adjustment, to some soft tissue work, to some spinal decompression. But shockwave therapy is what you were just asking. It's a great tool. It's a great modality. It uses like electrical current. It doesn't use electrical currents. I'm sorry. It uses I'm at a loss for words right now.
It's compressed air.
It's a percussion factor that whenever the shockwave machine. So I'll throw it, phone a friend, Lisa. So it's
I know. I'm sorry. I got it.
It's pneumatic that creates. It's a circulation. Is what we're doing is we're improving circulation and decreasing inflammation in the area with that shockwave.
It uses sound pressure waves to penetrate deep into multiple layers of tissue. So it's different from like if you were to use or just apply like a TENS unit where it uses electrical currents, because this is able to penetrate deeper into multiple layers of tissue. And so it helps with improving blood flow to that area. And we've got a lot of patients who just experience just such positive benefits even after that very first session. You're like less tension, less pressure in the area. And typically we recommend about like up to 4 to 6 sessions to feel its true benefits of it. But that's one modality that most of our patients kind of rave around, especially when it comes to things like tendinopathies, tendinitis, tennis elbow, plantar fasciitis. It's been a real game changer in that sense. But in addition to chiropractic care, shockwave therapy, we do focus on anti-inflammatory nutrition, like I mentioned. So we do a lot of education on eating habits that, for sustainability. So if a patient were to benefit from an injection later down the line or some type of surgery, they are, their body is optimal for that. And so our providers will continue that education. And like John mentioned, a nutritionist will become available as well in that area. But we do also help with medication management to that extent, to recommending interventional pain procedures like injections if there's a need. But we understand that, there's a time and need for it. It's really just based on, what the patient is comfortable with, and our providers are happy to get them to that point too.
Yeah, I had the shockwave therapy, and I had it on my shoulders and kind of my the triangle of the back. I don't know what those muscles are called, because I think I have maybe some arthritis or some chronic pain that goes in there. And the shockwave really, it feels like it's almost like a massage of sorts with someone putting a lot of pressure, and then there's some relief. And then I know that you can turn up the pressure for that spot that you're looking for treatment on, or they can lower it depending upon how you feel. But the very first treatment I had as just an introductory, it felt like I took off a 40-pound rucksack. I mean, like for months and months and months, my shoulders ached right here. I could just feel this knot right here in the middle. And then after I had the therapy, it felt like I just put down a rucksack I'd been carrying around for probably a couple of years. And so I knew that it gave me some immediate relief just by that one treatment that I had. And I had several more after that. But I know that when that pressure is applied, you kind of, if depending on how it's angled, you could actually feel it through your body, not just on that spot. It really kind of hits everything depending upon how it's angled and how the pressures are aligned, I guess, with the muscles. And so really, you were telling me what it does is it kind of simulates an injury, so all the blood flows to it and kind of then starts the healing process again. You need to explain more than I'm not doing a good job, I'm sure. But I mean, just knowing, that it's something that can offer some relief is a real huge benefit for people that are suffering from some chronic pain in whatever, their elbow, their shoulders, maybe it's a hip or a leg or something like that.
You're right, Terry. It doesn't induce like blood flow to that specific region, and that's actually one of the side effects you may have experienced too, is just like some redness in that area. But ultimately, you're right. It's really you're using your body's own natural healing properties, and that's what makes it different, and that's why it's part of our regenerative line.
Yeah, I think that's a great treatment. Most insurances aren't covering it just yet. And so that cash option was really good. I used that to get myself the treatments. And, I have a lot of positivity still, positive feelings in my shoulder. They don't ache like they do. I used to couldn't put my head back all the way back without feeling a lot of pain. I don't feel it now. So my 6 treatments really were helpful. And I feel like other people could benefit from that treatment. Plus, the diet. I don't like to say the word diet. It sounds like a bad word, but having a healthy diet, because when you're cutting out sugars and you're cutting out other things, and then maybe you're losing a couple pounds in the meantime while you're doing that, your joints benefit from all of that. Like having that healthy diet of vegetables and fruits and just other things that your body really needs and craves can make you feel better just doing that alone. And then stack on these other treatments like the TMS or the shockwave, or just maybe some injections just to loosen the muscle or whatever it is. You're going to feel better just having all those components come together to make you feel better as a whole working package. I mean, like, you're not just treating one symptom, you're treating the whole person. And I think that's what's so important here, is knowing that this option is available for all these different treatments to come together and really make a big difference.
And that's exactly right, Terry. And everybody's going to be in a different place in their journey when they show up and walk through the doors. And no matter pardon me, where they are, will determine what a good treatment plan is, and we can continue following them through that treatment plan. So it's not like you have to get referred out and start all over again. We have that whole ecosystem within our 4 walls, per se, either on site or near site, as we like to say. And we can deliver those services to patients, and that's what we're going after, is how many people can we help.
That's awesome. So if someone is outside the DFW area, if they come here, they can still have a cash option to pay. If their insurance considers it out of network, they can still come here and get treatments and be on a cash pay basis in order to get some of those treatment options.
Absolutely. Like I said, we have very, very desirable cash pay treatment plans and packages that are available. I mean, tailored for a patient that finds himself in a pickle. Right. And we can have it for, chiropractic, the PMS, psychiatry, all those things are going to be available to our patients.
We didn't really talk about the PMS. What can you explain a little bit about that, so we can kind of give that treatment method, some airtime, basically, so we can let people know what that's about?
Sure. Absolutely. Lisa, you want to go?
Yeah, so PMS stands for peripheral magnetic stimulation. It uses actually the same technology as TMS does. So the way that Dr. O'Brien described it. So it's a magnet that we would place over a specific region of the body. And in the same ways, those magnetic pulses is able to penetrate deep into the tissue to help with the healing. And so as we just mentioned earlier, we've also had many patients who've experienced like good relief, especially when it's placed kind of over, whether it's like the lower back, the neck. Those are the top 2 regions that we've had patients benefit from in those areas.
And so does insurance cover PMS, or is that one a cash option? And TMS, is that covered by the VA, or is that a cash option?
So I will say, I'll speak on the PMS part. I believe insurance does not cover PMS, and so there would be a cash option for that one.
Okay.
As for TMS, depending on like what referral you get from the VA for some of the veterans out there, I'm unclear as to whether the VA would pay us for it. As to just commercial insurance, though, yes, it is something that is covered. It is, we might have to have some discussions about like trying some medications first, depending on like what you've tried so far. But yes, it is something that is covered.
So if a veteran from outside, this area, and they were under VA care, that's their primary, they could get care at your clinic too, if it's a referral that the VA is willing to pay for.
We would have to run the benefits and insurance and make sure that was something that lined up. And you know what? That's a good idea. We can get back to the group and let them know if that's available. And the PMS is just like Dr. O'Brien said earlier, one of those off-label things. And I think that it's been cleared. And that's the reason why insurance takes it for a transcranial application, but the peripheral magnetic application for shoulders and stuff. And I've had it done on my shoulder. And I'll tell you, it's as good, if not better, than the shockwave therapy in conjunction. Okay. Both of them synergetically. Like, we've got to get you to try that one too, Terry, because they're good. You put that on the back of your shoulder where you said your traps and your rhomboids were. It's going to do some good things for you. So, and that's where we take, once again, that holistic approach and have not only the shockwave and the PMS available for patients, but right now those are both cash pay things. And we anticipate in the future insurance is going to pick those up and make those a covered treatment. But right now it's not. So that's why we have those, really desirable cash pay options for patients, because these do work if somebody's looking for something other than surgery. Like myself, I shared that story about me. I'm 45. I can't get a double hip replacement yet. I got to find something else out. So,
right there, you're too young for that, right? They say you shouldn't have those hips that old yet.
After I get done, I feel like river dancing. So we're good.
I wanted to add one thing in is just, it is hopefully insurance, so everybody can not to tell everybody what to do, go complain to your insurance or whatever. But I do hope that in the future it is covered, because these treatments, shockwave, PMS, TMS, are non-invasive treatments with low side effects that, when I'm counseling patients, oftentimes I'm having to give like a whole list of possible side effects from these medications. Right. Whereas TMS, very, very low side effects comparatively with medications. So I do hope that in the future, things like PMS, shockwave, these things are better covered by more people's insurance.
And it's coming. It's just, we know that it takes time to work things through the insurance process, and these programs are not, they're not in their infancy as being around yet, but they just haven't been adopted by the insurance coverage process. But we do anticipate that's going to happen in the future.
So is your clinic the only one that has these tools and these technologies right now?
They're cool toys. Not a lot of people have them. Not a lot of people have adopted the practice. It's really kind of at the forefront. We are one of the groups that is fortunate enough to have them in the DFW area.
Yeah, I had never heard of any of it before, and then I was introduced because of my civilian career, and so I was very interested in it, and I was invited to come to the Fort Worth office, and Lisa was so nice to show me around and really kind of show me all the therapies and introduce me to all the clinicians there and what they did. And I have to tell you, I was really impressed, because not only is it a very state-of-the-art facility, the technologies to do treatment are very state of the art and very new and cutting edge, like you said. And so it's really, somebody that doesn't really want to as a lot of people would say, big pharma don't want the medications, because there are those side effects. There are those things that you'd have to consider. Is it worth taking it because I could potentially have this, or I could potentially have that? And so these more, non-invasive procedures are very, they're very interesting to people because they really don't want to take another medication because they're already taking 3 or 4 and they're like, they don't want to add a third one or a fourth one or, whatever the case may be. And they just want some type of relief, but they don't want it from a pill, from that type of treatment plan. They really want something that's more, holistic, like the name.
Or surgical intervention. Right, like that, and a lot of people don't want that. You want a pain stimulator? They're going to put a wire in you, and it's going to work, or maybe not work. I mean, there's some things that work for people, but a lot of the times when they get into the surgical interventions, it has a degree of success that sometimes may be undesirable, especially for the patient that it doesn't end up working for. Right, so then you say, I wish I'd have thrown more things out there to see what my options were, rather than going straight towards surgical intervention. And that's really where we want to say, let's make sure we cover all the bases before you go under any knife or any kind of thing like that.
Well, usually whenever you have a back surgery, you end up having more, and it doesn't really ever seem to solve the problem. I've heard of a lot of people having a back surgery and then having another one and another one and another one, because it's really not the best. Well, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to speak to that. But just from my observation, it really doesn't seem to be the best course of action for some of the injuries or some of the conditions with the back. So I think these treatments would probably be a better treatment plan than some of those surgeries, because successive surgeries don't sound like a good fix to me or like a good treatment plan.
No, especially at a young age. I mean, I'm 45 and I wore my hips out, and I know that I can't do surgery right now because new hips only last for about 15, 20 years, and I plan on making it past 65. So we've got to figure something out for another 10 or 15 years before we get that hip replacement. Yeah. And I'll tell you, these interventions are everything that they're cracked up to be. They have helped me get back in the game, and I've been nothing but I came and joined the team.
Right.
That's how awesome this stuff is.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I really hope that the VA kind of embraces this for veterans in general, because they've got treatment plans that I don't think are probably in the best interest of the patient. It's just like a temporary fix. Here, take this pill or do this thing, and it should be fine. I think they need to offer more cutting edge treatment plans for veterans and people with PTSD, TBIs, things like that, because I don't think another pill fixes everything. I think there needs to be some other type of help, mental health help, or diet, or these shockwave, or the TMS, or something like that. I think could go a long way to making a person feel much better than just handing them another pill to solve whatever else, or whatever problem.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's side effects that come with all these medications as well. And then it's like that never ending cycle. So
yeah, I agree.
It's also, I feel like that too. I'm the one prescribing all this stuff, and I also feel the same way. I think if I would have went and worked at a different clinic that did not have all these tools, then I would be doing the exact same thing everyone else, a lot of these other places are doing, which is just, well, we got to try another medication. And so it is good that we have all of this under one roof, or as John said, near one roof, paraphrasing. And, so it's nice to give patients options so that you don't have to just tell them to do one thing, because that is my favorite part, which is when I'm getting close to end the session, where I'm like, here are all the options you could try. What do you want to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have options, and I think medicine sometimes is a treatment option that needs to be exercised, because sometimes that is what's going to be best. And I'm not against medication. I'm just against people diagnosing it just to diagnose it, or prescribe it. Not that, because there's other things available. But if a medication is what's needed, then that's what's needed, and I have no problem, having that prescribed to me or to anybody else. But if that isn't the only fix, if there's something else that might be better for them in the long run, I really would love for them to look at those other options instead of just going to, a pharmacy for a fix.
Right. If you're looking for the pharmaceutical answer, there's a lot of people that practice that way.
Yeah.
But there's more to medicine than that, a lot more. And embracing those different options and offering those as to patients so they can make educated decisions. That's what I think, medicine should be and where it's going in the future, rather than just, hey, you'll pick it up at your pharmacy.
Yeah, I love that there's options, that people are, can pick, and this one sounds good. Let's try this. And, instead of just saying, this is the only fix for you, we don't have any other options for you. So I love that there's all these options under one roof, basically, that someone can try to really get, the best benefit of all these different treatments. I'm not going to say machines, and they kind of aren't machines, but the treatment plans and the treatment options, because then they can see what really works, and what's really helping them to feel the best they can feel and really get back in the game, as you say, John.
Yeah, some of those things are machines. Some of those things are people. It's just the support aspect of the patient getting answers to questions that they may have realized that never been answered or never felt comfortable asking. So sometimes it's machines, sometimes it's people, sometimes it may be a needle, but whatever it is, we're willing to throw the kitchen sink at it to have people get better.
Well, and that's the other thing. Sometimes, as a lay person and not in the medical field at all, we don't know what's possible. We don't know what to ask for. We don't have the right questions to ask to get, someone to tell us, okay, well, these are the things you can do or you can choose from. We just aren't educated enough to really understand what all is out there for us. So having these tools out there and having them explained and then having them offered as a solution or as a thing to try is a blessing and a benefit, I think.
Yeah, let the patient make educated decisions on all of the different options that they have. And that's really, like I said, the way that it should be. And I really hope that's the way that medicine goes in the future, rather than being pushed a direction that may not be the best patient angle. That doesn't feel good.
Right.
So, but unfortunately, we've heard all too many cases where that's been the scenario. And
yeah,
it's been my scenario, right? I was in a workers' comp situation, back when I worked for the fire department. They pushed me to a shoulder surgery.
Oh, yeah.
That was maybe a little premature, but that's what happened. And I was young enough yet where, fresh out of the Marine Corps, just like, all right, yes, sir, let's go do that. And then I found myself, with a labrum repair and an AC joint repair that might not have had to happen. So wasn't given the option. And so speaking along those lines, the availability to give patients those options, it's really important.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes left. So for anybody in the group, just, if there's something we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about, but you want to talk about before we get off the air, feel free to just kind of chime in and give whatever information you want to give to our guests tonight or our listeners tonight.
I would say I'll try to keep it short so Lisa and John can also add in anything. I would say, if you're in the DFW area or in Texas, because all of us just have our licenses in Texas, please search us out on goholistiq.com, to inquire about options, because I think we do have a pretty impressive set of options.
Yes.
That said, I know this is a podcast that might be viewed across the country, or in other areas. So, to any of those other areas, please ask about these options that we've talked about today when you're out there. And you can always go research on the internet, of course, but please ask about these options wherever you go. I am biased. Please look up goholistiq.com. But at the same time, don't feel, if you're in Minnesota, it's
make the trek to Texas.
Yes, it may be impractical for you. But please research those options, just because I do think that they're, maybe if you go see, that's not a good example. I was going to say something else. If you go see, if you go to an oil change place, they're going to want to change your oil.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the window tint place for your car, they're probably going to want to put on some window tint for your car. So maybe just ask around to what are the options, try to find a place that fits with what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And along those lines too, as far as what we want to do as at Holistiq is we really want to empower our patients to make the decision that works for them and what's right for them and their family. So with that being said, that's why we have the different types of treatments that we do, just so that we can educate our patients on what might be the best as far as appropriate for them. But of course, at the end of the day, we want to listen to our patients' concerns. And so if there is any questions, whether it's from any of the guests, we do have a lengthy list of, print material and it's also lots of conditions and other things that you can find on our website. But I'm also happy to share any material as well with the viewers.
That's good. John, do you have anything?
It's just as a vet myself, I'm more than happy to answer any questions if we're sharing emails, even if somebody is in Minnesota and they're looking for treatment options other than going under with the knife, or just they don't have any idea about what's available to them and they're in pain or find themselves in a mental funk. All of us are available to help out. And that's what we're here for. If you are in the DFW area, please look us up. We've got a lot of options out there, and if you don't understand your options, we would be happy to explain them to you. Like Lisa said, we're vet friendly as far as insurance goes, and if it's a cash pay option you're looking for, you're not going to find more understanding prices throughout the metroplex.
Right.
Because we're really engaged and wanted to help out the population, and vets are absolutely near and dear to our hearts because guess what? We walk the walk as well. So really appreciate you having us on the podcast, Terry. It's been really, really cool. We are available for questions outside of this encounter and really want to be able to help out however we can.
Well, I want to thank all of you for coming on tonight and really explaining about the programs that you have. And I want to thank you for my own treatment because I feel like I've gained some benefit from it. I feel better than I have in a while, for sure. So I want to thank all of you for coming on, and I will
get you that PMS treatment too. Sorry for interrupting. Just make sure you forget about that.
I won't. So I want to wish all of you a good night, and thank you for being on here, and we will definitely follow up.
Merry Christmas. Thanks for having us, Terry.
Thank you so much,
Merry
Terry.
Christmas. Thank you.
Bye.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.